There is a place on the border of the Czech Republic and Germany, a sprawling ancient forest known as the Green Roof of Europe. This is the Bavarian Forest. And it was here, in this deep, quiet wood, that our story begins. The year is 1803. A man, dressed in little more than rags, builds a solitary hut deep within the trees. No one knew where he came from or why he had sought refuge in the wilderness. He survived on odd jobs, fetching tools for the village blacksmith, tending cattle in the meadows, a ghost at the edge of civilization. But soon, unsettling rumors began to drift through the nearby towns, whispers of a madman in the woods.